Investigators at the crash site of the Ethiopian Airways flight have new evidence that potentially connects this crash with the earlier Lion Air disaster last October that also killed everyone on board, according to the New York Times. The evidence indicates that the plane's nose was being forced down by its stabilizers. The Times also reports that the captain knew, and I'm talking about the Ethiopian airline, the captain knew there was serious trouble almost immediately after takeoff. He asked in a panicked voice for permission to return because the plane was speeding up abnormally. Air traffic controllers could also see the plane seesawing by hundreds of feet after it took off and were able to redirect other flights out of the way of that Ethiopian airline. David Susi is with me right now. He's a former FAA safety inspector and a CNN safety analyst. Good to see you. So at issue, according to this New York Times reporting, is these stabilizers on the plane that can be triggered by this automated system known as the MCAS. What do you know about that? And if that's the real commonality here between the Ethiopia airline jet and the Lion Air jet?
Well, Fred, it was suspected that this was the problem before, that the MCAS had drove the nose of the airplane down erroneously because of the angle of attack indicator, which indicated to this system that the nose was climbing too quickly. So it automatically pushes the nose down. This was confirmed now on site by the investigators when they looked at that horizontal stabilizer jack screw, the piece that holds it or moves it up and down. They were confirmed on site that indeed the horizontal stabilizer was in this nose down position when it hit the ground.
Is it extraordinary to you that, based on that reporting, that in the control tower they could see this kind of movement of the aircraft, and we're talking about just minutes in the air after takeoff?
Well, Fred, even more interesting is the fact that indications had come across the ADS-B, which is a satellite-based communication, that showed that the vertical speed was erroneous or erratic even before it took off from the ground. Just before takeoff, there's a large spike showing a 2,500 foot per minute climb before the aircraft even left the ground. But at that point, the pilots had no choice but to go ahead and get it in the air because it was impossible to stop it at that point. So I believe that they knew at that time, because the aircraft was not leaving the ground. The day before, we looked at the data from the day before, and the same flight coming out of that airport, at the same point at which, about 3/4 of the way down the runway, the flight was at 1,000 feet and about 20 or 30 knots slower. In this case, with the Ethiopian Air flight on this tragic day, it actually was still on the ground at 3/4 of the way down the airport, and it still showed this spike, and the speed was about 260 knots, way too high.
Wow, that's extraordinary. So now the black boxes are in France. They're being analyzed there. What are they hoping to get from that black box analysis that really could put some very important pieces together here?
Well, right now, the ADS-B transmits a good deal of information that they can use to determine what happened. What the black box will give them on the flight data recorder is about 10,000 data points. So all of those data points are important, not all of them, but certainly specific ones due to flight are important to figuring out what if this fix that they've been working on with Lion Air, if indeed these are the two same things that happened, will the fix that they have take care of those problems as well? So once they get all of that data assembled and put together, they'll be able to assure that whatever fix they come up with is going to take care of the problem.
So the U.S., now one of the last countries really to ban or ground these, MAX 8 planes from the skies. The FAA in particular initially said there was no data that, had given them reason to do so. What changed? Was it simply the pressure of countries around the globe who were saying it's time to ground this type of aircraft, or is it something else?
Well, certainly that had something to do with the decision. In risk management, which is what this really is, it's balancing the impact if something happens versus the probability that it will occur. So that's really what risk management is. And everyone has different perspectives on what's in the red, what causes this to say we're going to take action. So from Boeing's perspective, looking backward at this, it doesn't really serve anything at this point right now. What the important thing is that right now those aircraft are grounded and they can move forward with a good fix on it. I think that there was times at which this could have been done more quickly. The aircraft could have been grounded. It wasn't, but luckily there were no incidents during that time. So at this point, moving forward, we just hope that Boeing comes up quickly with a fix that will take care of this problem once and for all.
David Susi, thank you so much. Always good to see you. Appreciate it. Unfortunately, under such circumstances,
You
however.
too, Fred.